Hi everyone, Danielle here. I'm doing an overview of React, the Arts of War. This is going to be my first time going through how to set up this game, and I thought it might be interesting to record that experience just to see how easy or maybe complex it is. So the two characters I chose for this video are these two. So we have an expansion character and then one of the characters that come in the box. Just so you know, this is the deluxe edition, so you'll see some of the acrylic stands and acrylic pieces versus the cardboard. But yeah, let's get into the dancer. So this one is a difficulty 2 out of 5, complexity 1 out of 5, and it's got fish. So this was, I think, one of the recommended easy ones to start off with. And then this is an expansion, as I mentioned. So this is the DJ. And this one is also complexity 1 out of 5. It's got difficulty 3 out of 5, and it has sick beats. Um, so yeah, I thought I would just showcase what else might be interesting outside of the base game. We have the acrylics for the dancer and the DJ. So that's what these both look like. Unfortunately, it probably won't be appreciated too much on the camera, but I think I might decide to lay down the um the standees just to see, but for now I'll leave them like this. Okay, so I'll be going through the rulebook to set up. So first is you'll select an artist to play, which I've just selected both of them already. I've laid out both of the components to the side of these playmats. So obviously not everything's on screen, but just know they are there. Because yeah, like here we have the dancer. They have 3 additional standees that look like this. So that's what those look like. And then for the DJ, they have 2 other standees. These are kind of like looks like a boom box. I have to see what they're speakers, I think. But yeah, they have 2 of those. Okay. So this is the field board. This is created out of 2 playmats. And so you'll just line them up like this to form this grid. And you'll place your characters on the marking in the middle of the first row on each of the sides. So that's why I have them both like that. And then you're going to place 5 React chain tokens on the React chain board in numerical order. I'm starting it from my point of view from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is where the React chain will be. You'll be playing cards here and then reacting to each other's plays throughout the game. And this will be the order that they will be going in. And next it says to set your artist's 3 masterpiece cards to the side of the masterpiece board. The masterpiece board on these playmats are here. There's going to be a section for them right here. So masterpiece cards, they look like this. Let me just see. So for the DJ, they look like this. And basically, you will be trying to place your cards in order so that it creates this 3-card masterpiece. It could be on the colored side. It could be mixed in with some of the black and white side, which is basically on the other side of each of these colored cards. So that'll be interesting. And then we have the cards from the dancer. So let's do that. I'll show you what that would look like if it was completed. It'll look something like this. Again, it could be on the black and white side, but it would be nice if you're able to get it on the colored side because it's so pretty. All right. So that would be just kind of placed off to the side. And then it says place your artist's unit tile on your starting zone, which I've already showed you. It is marked with a star on the board. And then you'll place any components unique to your artist in front of you and follow any setup instructions on your square reference sheet. So each of these characters have a reference sheet right here. And there is some setup for the dancer. So let's take a look at that one. So this one says place 1 scale token in each of my 3 adjacent zones. So there's 3 adjacent zones and we have some tokens here that belong to the dancer. And the scales look like this. And so as it states, we will be putting one in each of the three adjacent zones. I'm sorry, it should be here. Dancer is on this side, all right? So that's where that goes for setup, and that's it for setup. And then you'll shuffle the deck of 30 action cards, and they all have the same card back. So this is going to be the deck of cards for the dancer. Shuffle those up. There's 30 cards. And just so you know, not all artists or characters have a 30 card deck, but these two do. And this is the card backs for the DJ, which is pretty neat. All right. And then you're going to draw 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be the DJ's hand. We'll just put that out there. And then we'll draw 4 cards for the dancer. 2, 3, 4. All right, so that'll be our hand. I might move this out of the way just for an example's sake later. But yeah, so that's what we have in terms of the setup. The rest of this video will kind of just go through more about the components and a typical kind of turn structure. So first off, there are 4 phases. There's a masterpiece phase, there's a draw phase, and then there's a main phase, and then ending with a end phase. Let's see. So with the masterpiece phase, it says the turn player progresses their masterpiece. Let's just say the dancer is the turn player right now. And so just so you know, the player that goes first skips this for their first turn. So the second player would end up progressing their masterpiece on their first turn. All right. So in the draw phase, you'll draw cards from your deck, and each player will do this even on the first turn. So we would each be drawing 1 card. And just so you know, you cannot draw a card if you're already at your hand limit of 6 action cards. And these are your action cards in your hand. And then during the main phase, it says the turn player can play intentions. So you'll notice in this hand that we have 4 cards right now. And the intention cards look like this. They have kind of like the blue bar here. So there's 3 intention cards right now in the dancer's hands, and then 1 reaction card. Intentions are blue, reactions are kind of orange, and you'll see here on the left, there's kind of this corresponding color to that. Intentions would always be played in this first spot, and then the reactions would always be reacting to that. So it's definitely a very interesting concept. I think the designer references like Yu-Gi-Oh in terms of like the chain of events there. Because as you play your cards and there's more reactions, you're actually going to be completing the reactions. Um, uh, it's basically last in, first out. So you'll be doing all of the actions from 5 down to 1, which is definitely an interesting mechanic to think about as you play your cards. All right. So next, we'll talk about the end phase. So end phase means you could unexhaust all your artists and your summons on the board, and then your opponent becomes the turn player for the next turn. So let's go into detail on each of these phases a little bit more. So for the masterpiece phase, again, the first player would actually skip this, but I'm just demonstrating what this phase would look like. You can do 3 things depending on what's happening here on this side of the board. So again, these are where you place masterpieces. Each character will have 3 cards that are considered their masterpiece cards. And when it's your turn, you get to place your masterpiece or progress your masterpiece during the phase. You get to place one of your masterpiece cards into an empty space if there is an empty space in the masterpiece zone. So right now it's empty. So in this case, I'd be able to just place one of mine in an empty space here. So I could, place one right here, just like that. And that would be me progressing my masterpiece during this phase. But for example, say there was already all of these cards here. I'd be able to actually place, as you see, there's 5 spaces, and there would really be a total of 6 masterpiece cards. Each player gets 3. And then you'd be able to just replace an opponent's with one of yours as an action during the masterpiece phase. And then, of course, if all 3 of your masterpiece cards have already been placed, you can actually swap any 2 spaces in the masterpiece zone. So you could, swap like this, swap like this. It's any 2, or just simply swap with something across the way. All right. And you could even swap with an empty space. So say something was empty, you just want to swap it. There you go. That's what you can do. All right. So that is the masterpiece phase, and that happens first every single round. So next is the draw phase. So we'll go ahead and do that. Even on the first turn, you'll each be drawing an extra card. So each hand will now have 5 cards in them. Just so you know, though, if you are drawing a card and your deck is empty, you immediately lose the game. So you don't want to get decked out. All right. So let's take a look at the main phase. This is the most interesting part of the game, in my opinion, and the most exciting, because a lot of things could really not go your way if you're not paying attention to the possible reactions that you might get. So during the main phase, only the turn player can play intentions to the react chain. So again, intentions are kind of the bluish treatment here. You'll notice it at the top as well. So intentions can only be played in this first slot. All right. And then reactions will be played after that. Some of the cards could have a cost. I don't really see one on any of my cards here right now. Let's see if the DJ has any so I can show you. Nope, nothing. But some of them do have costs. It would be written kind of over here, and you would just have to pay those costs or exhaust the card to do that action. All right, so as an example, I could play Calling Step. So this one says, choose another artist or summon in my row or column and make it jump once towards me. And then essentially, you can also jump once in any direction. So I'm going to play that as the intention. And now the other opponent, they get to look at their cards, look at any of their reaction cards, and decide if they want to play any right now. So this one in particular is a reaction card that says track switch. It's a reaction, either start a beat or advance my beats by 1 segment. So the DJ has some specific keywords related to their deck. So start a beat and advance my beats are specific to them. What's neat about each of these characters is that they come with reference cards. And so you'd be able to reference any of these just to make sure you know how to play your character. And there's even an FAQ on the card itself. So we won't get into too much detail about each of the characters. It's really just the overall gameplay you'll get a feel for. So let's say we don't have a reaction at this point. So now we'll go ahead and complete the chain. So normally we'll start from 5 all the way down to 1. There's no cards before this, so this one will be the only one that goes off. And again, this says choose another artist or summon in my row or column and make it jump once towards me. So it's going to jump. All right. So it's going to go here. And then, I'm sorry, my opponent jumps towards me. So this will come towards me. And it says I jump once in any direction. So I'll jump this way. And the idea is that you get close enough to do an attack. You will win the game if you do 3 damage to your opponent. So something to note is that the characters typically have ability cards. So for the dancer, they have 4 ability cards that look like this. You can kind of tell the difference from the ability cards and your hand cards or the cards in your deck because the icons on the top are on the right and it's also showing the title of the cards right aligned. So that's a way you can tell about these cards. And these are kind of always available to you. They just kind of sit in front of you and they're not really part of your hand. So yeah, these stay face up in front of you after they're resolved and can be played again as long as their cost can be played. So you can see here that all of these have a cost. So for this one, it would be exhausted. You would have to exhaust the dancer to do this intention if you wanted to play that card. And then it says exhaust me, choose a direction. So same thing there. You'll choose that. And yeah, so that would be how they played their cards. We have the DJ's cards as well. They have three different ones, and it's similar. They have exhaust as a cost as well. And these are all intention cards that they can play. So I mentioned that you'd be able to do damage as you get closer to your opponent. Obviously, you have kind of this whole board to kind of move around in and manipulate with the additional standees. And without getting into too much detail, obviously, once you do damage, you have to be able to track the damage. So when you do damage, you would, let's put some of these cards back. You would track that damage by just flipping over your opponent's masterpiece that you damaged over. So you'll see that it's black and white, it's not colored. And so right now, this would signify that the dancer has 1 damage. If it did this, it would have 2 damage. All right. And again, for the DJ as well, that would mean they have 1 damage. And once you take your 3rd damage, that's when you lose. So even if you just have 2 cards here, you're still flipping them over, but you know, you'd also flip over the one that's not up there to track your damage. And once you have 3, you do lose the game. I don't want to make this too long, but I do want to mention just some additional details. So, you know, most of the artists or characters have summons like this, and every summon has just 1 health point. And this is not, you know, part of the HP from your artist. So 1 damage doesn't really impact the masterpieces. It just impacts the summons themselves. A summon can always kind of be resummoned in the future, so you just kind of put them to the side once they're done. And then lastly, just a note about movement. You can never move diagonal. You can only move, you know, right, left, up, and down. And you can never move off of the board. Something to know specific to the dancers, when they jump, they're actually leaving behind scales. So, you know, if you ever want to just pause here and take a read of just how their character works, it's pretty interesting. You could do some damage if there's enough scales in a certain spot. So it's kind of like leaving a almost like a mine or a bomb or something on the space. So definitely very cool mechanics and characters. Each character is just so unique. Um, and as you can see, there's like such a strong theme with some of these. Like this one says, you know, we saw on the reaction card, either start a beat or advance my beats by 1 segment. So this kind of goes into some detail on what that means. It says, when I start a beat, I play a beat to any empty turntable board. And you actually may not have noticed, there's actually turntables here, cardboard ones that come with the DJ character. So you'd be able to place one of their, you know, their beats, which they have a total of 4, to one of those turntables, which I find to be a very neat mechanic. Um, and yeah, so you could kind of get a feel as to, you know, just how interesting some of these matchups could be. And there's a great variety of these characters that come in the base game. I believe, is it 8? Let me see here. Yeah, it does come with 8 of them, and they all come with boxes just like this to store everything you need, which is awesome. All right. Well, this was a really brief overview of kind of like my first experience in setting up and going over kind of the gameplay of React. the Arts of War. I think as a TCG player, this really would scratch the itch in terms of like not needing to deck build, just being ready to play a game that's also pretty tactical. Um, I kind of find this to be in the same vein as maybe Altered on TCG, where you kind of have this map and you're trying to move towards each other. So I kind of could see that as kind of a similar comparison. I think this is a little bit more interesting, especially with the masterpieces and also the chain. Lots of the intention and then the reactions to the intention, I think will really mean some exciting gameplay. So I'm excited to give this a play with my friends sometime. This is not solo friendly. But I could, practice some of these characters, get to learn them since they are all so different. There's even a character in the box that doesn't have an action card deck. Um, they just have dice, and I love dice, so I might try to master that one sometime soon. All right, I'm gonna stop rambling here. I hope you enjoyed this quick overview of React: The Arts of War. Again, special thanks to the game designer for sending me a copy of the deluxe edition. I am just really loving just the art on the cards and all the components, and the acrylic standees just really make a difference. I do want to mention here though too that these bases are really neat. Like, I know top down you can't see the art, but they have almost a function, because when you place tokens on them and you want to move them around the board, you just place them on them and you just simply move them around the board just like that. You don't have to kind of like follow them with the tokens that might be on them. Um, but yeah, all right. I think I mentioned kind of all the little tidbits I wanted to about this one. I have some links in the description below if you're interested in learning more. But in the meantime, if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. I love making videos just like this one. A like or a comment is also always appreciated. Let me know what your thoughts are about this game, what TCGs you might be getting into. There's just so many options these days, and it's a very exciting time to get into gaming. All right, thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.